You are locked onto the Texas Rangers and locked onto the San Diego Padres. I'm Brice Paterik, host of the Locked On Rangers podcast. Joining me is Javier Reyes, host of the Locked On Padres podcast. Before we end today's show, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Javi, how are you doing today? I saw your wild gesticulations out of the corner of my eye while I was reading that intro. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. Everybody, you can check me out on Twitter at Javapeno. You know how to do it. He spelled my at slightly incorrectly if you're watching
Did I really?
YouTube. Yeah,
Did I
the
really?
P is supposed to be lowercase.
Oh, well.
It's okay though. It's okay though because to be honest with you, it's endearing now. Looking at it,
It
it's the
should.
giant P.
Look, I'm just saying that it should have been capitalized. That's more on you than it is on me. So that's fine. Here we're here with two teams that are not broke boys for the first time in quite a few years. Well, I guess your team has been less broke. Both of our teams have been less broke boy in the recent years, and I feel like that's the thing that definitely needs to lead off this podcast, as there have been some fans of certain teams. I'm not going to name names, possibly even hosts in our own network. I'm not naming names. Would never name a name that I think that not spending money is actually really cool and good, and that teams who spend money and don't immediately win the World Series are dumb. And I think both of us are of the same mind that that's a silly mentality, and spending money from your billionaire owners on their baseball team to make it good is actually a good thing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, let's do this, man. I'm ready. I was born ready for this. Look, here's the thing. First of all, I just want to shout out specifically, well, my buddy Tatis right here, the bobblehead, but also I want to just shout out us from going to sad boys to rich boys. Both of our teams, now more so my team, just because of historically they had never spent, at least they're never, and then recently they returned to form. You know what I mean? They made that comeback, but it's just one of my greatest pet peeves, and this is why I reached out to you. At least part of why I reached out to you. We're going to be talking about Profar a little bit later, and jump into the odds, the specific FanDuel sportsbook odds for World Series. But one of my new biggest pet peeves last year, it was millionaires versus billionaires. When people would bring that up, it really annoyed me, as if people don't understand that even Mike Trout pales in comparison to a billionaire, right?
To the poorest owner?
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, Mike Trout is doing fine. I'm not trying to imply that he isn't, but anyway, I don't want to get into the whole lockout stuff. And everybody, we missed 2 weeks of spring training.
Thankfully, we're finally past that. Look,
yeah.
We'll get into why that was a big deal. Actually, I think it was a good thing, because that's the
2 weeks of spring training. Hey, wait a minute. Why isn't my team spending? I thought what happened?
Look, anyway. that was a drastic 2 weeks. All right, for us content makers, there was a lot of just.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. But now, my new pet peeve is people love making the joke after, whether it be the Padres, and they made that especially in 2018, 2019 when they signed Manny Machado. And they've been doing it a lot lately with your team. Wow, all that money just to finish third place or fourth place or whatever place, second place, whatever it is.
It was fourth place in the AL West, unfortunately.
Fourth place in the AL West.
Better than fifth. Better than fifth. An improvement from last year.
Mine is like third. They usually said third for us, but now it's second because the Giants just fell off of it. But I think that the reason it gets me so mad is on a variety of levels that I probably should have written down so I could be more specific. But one of them is that it implies there's such a arrogance to it when you make these comments. And I'm not talking about people who are just trolling, right? People who are trolling, they're not thinking through it and whatnot. And as you said, there's some hosts on the network that believe in this. But my thing is, we literally just saw the Philadelphia Phillies, who had the worst defense in baseball, spend a ton of money, and honestly, not too long ago, look like they might be in trouble because they didn't have a farm system, right? They didn't have a really good farm system. They didn't have
one of their former top prospects, a guy who was a top 30 prospect in all of baseball, Spencer Howard. It turned out he was not good. Unfortunately, I had to learn that firsthand. But
and you see them literally make it to the World Series. You see the Padres that they paid Manny Machado, and sure, they weren't good the first year, which I know we're going to talk about this with you.
They paid some other people.
They paid some other people, but the Manny thing, everyone was like, wow, what a a loser. Why would you go to the Padres? Like they stink and all these things. And it's because they had all these prospects. The basically is just that we live in a sports ecosystem that routinely, I love. Let me repeat, love all these numbers dorks. And what I mean by that is the numbers dorks
Oh,
who
you love me?
will give you expected stats and projections, and then they're like, I can't believe this guy's good. It's like, yeah, because it's sports. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to come out here and say Nick Martinez is going to win the Cy Young. Oh, you
Oh,
never
it's the
know.
people. It's the
That's
people who
pretty
think that
unlikely.
Martin Perez was like bad. Like, oh, his expected stats suck. I'm like, yeah, but he had like 196 innings and a sub
Yeah.
3 ERA. Like, there was not a whole lot of people in baseball who did that. I don't care what his expected stats said. Like, he performed. Like,
Yeah.
you do it on the field, and the expected stats are fun and good and whatever. But like, yeah,
And it almost implies actually, and here's the second part of it. Aside from the arrogance from it, another big thing of mine, and I've been saying this on my show forever, the brainworm disease that teams who don't spend money have tossed on their fan bases, and
the
it's and
non-profits like the Reds.
yeah, they've successfully done this where they've ingratiated themselves with fans in a way. Not all of them. I'm not going to say every fan base. You know, the Marlins are a good example, but uh, your Clevelands, your Milwaukees, your Seattles, a bunch of these teams. And don't get me wrong, they're fine organizations, but they've somehow convinced their fans that jumping out and being like, you know what, let's go get George Springer. You know what, let's go get Carlos Correa. You know what, blah 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 blah. That it's somehow not a good thing. And my issue with that is, yes, you need to build the farm. It's very important. It gives you wiggle room. That's how Padres have Juan Soto. That's how they have. I know they traded for Tatis, but he was basically a Padres prospect, right? It's very important.
You had to build up
But
your farm with prospects like major leaguer. Was it James Shields?
yeah, yeah, that's right. Love James Shields.
Like a
One of my
washed
favorite
James
Padres.
Shields, so you can go
Yeah,
get a Fernando Tatis Jr. at age
exactly.
like 7 or whatever he was when he
Yeah, I
was
think
in
he
the
was
trade.
7 actually. Yeah, it's crazy. He's actually still like 10 right now. It's crazy. Um,
Oh,
they
speaking of, I need to. I don't know if you saw the one of the greatest comments I've ever had. A Rangers fan, or I'm assuming, commented on a recent video just out of nowhere. I did not even mention Tatis or the Padres, but he just commented these four, yeah, four hashtags. Hashtag Tatis to Texas. Hashtag we tried this the easy way. Now we are doing it the American way. Hashtag with drugs. Hashtag screw the rules. We have money.
Oh wait, I did see this. Did
No,
you
no,
send
no.
this in the group chat?
I think I might have just no notes. Yes. Let's just do that. Sorry to derail you, but I just needed you
No,
to.
it's fine. That's a phenomenal comment. But just to finish my train of thought really quickly is that they've convinced their fans that having very clean, very tidy, right? There's no albatrosses. You know what I'm saying? Two things that both of our teams in 5 years could very well have, and that's certainly a concern. But it implies that there's not any weaknesses almost with only building up your farm and only trying to find the cheap high value guys, you know, and there is a lot of value into that. Jake Cronenworth is huge. Hassan Kim is huge. You need those tertiary sort of players that balance things out. You can't only spend. Let me be very clear, because we have seen, courtesy of the New York Yankees, that won't always necessarily work. But my issue is that it's just like, guys, Cleveland ain't been to the World Series since like Beverly Hills Cop came out.
Well,
You know, Milwaukee
they
hasn't been to
blew a
the World
3-1
Series.
lead. The Cleveland did
Oh,
blow
I'm
a 3-1
sorry.
lead in
Won a
2016.
World Series. My
Yeah,
apologies. Thank
yeah.
you very much.
Wait,
Milwaukee hasn't been to a World Series since the first RoboCop came out. And I just think that we give these teams credit because Milwaukee, it's like, well, they don't have that albatross. They don't have a Patrick Corbin. They don't have a Steven Strasburg. And what I love
oh,
about that is like, yes, but the Nationals did win. You know what I'm saying? So it's this kind of, that's what drives me insane. Is it possible that the Rangers finish fourth? Yeah, it's probably more likely than not. But my issue is that it's just in the world of sports, and even in baseball, which I know is so predicated on numbers and projections, it's just so frustrating that people are like, yeah, we actually should have less teams doing this. It's like, hey, Seattle, um, congrats on making the playoffs. I love their fans. I'm friends with a few. Um, you know, first time in 20 years. Just saying, I don't know why you think you could start talking smack about how to build a baseball team. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh boy, we will definitely get into that. I'm going to cut you off because we have more on this subject to talk about than I thought we initially did. We're going to get into all of that and more. First, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here. They are very much here, and we are really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On. They are the #1 sportsbook in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. Yeah, it's way better because we have a whole graphic that I was totally supposed to put up 10 seconds ago, but it's fine. New customers can join today with get $150 on free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel has your favorite bets from money line to point spreads. We'll get into that about baseball even later, to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a bigger chance for a bigger payout at same game parlay. All an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now, let's get more into our teams who have spent a lot of money and all of these comments about spending all this money just to finish whatever. And I'm glad the Rangers are finally doing this. And your cautionary tale about teams just spending and not building up the farm. And I think the Rangers have done a decent job building up the farm. Obviously not quite anywhere near the level of the prospects that have been coming through the system of the San Diego Padres. Miss you, AJ Preller. Please come back. Miss you a lot. But anyway, the Rangers have been doing a lot more of just spending. But the thing that I find most interesting about the Padres is that I think they've done a really, really good job of building up that farm, having those like mid-tier, like pretty good players. Like they have a lot of guys who are like pretty good, and then you go out and spend a bunch of money on the stars, because developing your own stars internally is very difficult. So that's why they go out and they spend money on the Manny Machados of the world. That's why they go trade for Juan Soto. But like of the, guys on the outer edges, Jake Cronenworth is like a 3-4 win player who can play anywhere, and he's really darn good. Ha-Seong Kim is a really darn good player, and he can play pretty much anywhere. And like everywhere else, Trent Grisham has got his flaws, obviously, but like he's a pretty good player. Like, and they have a lot of these guys that are just like pretty good, and then you go out and you get the stars, and you have them surrounded by like pretty good players. And I think that's one of the things that the Rangers have not done. But since the San Diego Padres, San Diego's not a tiny market, but like comparatively, it's right next to LA. Like it's not that huge. Granted, there's only the Padres and the what's the, I can't even think of the minor league hockey team that's there, but it's pretty much just a Padres town at this point.
Aztecs, and that's it.
Yeah, the Aztecs. That's the name of it. But it kind of shows that like these small market teams, like Seattle is I think a bigger market than San Diego. I think Cleveland is, maybe they're comparable. I don't know how big Cleveland is, but like all these other smaller market teams, it's like you don't get to hide behind that shield of, oh, we're small, we can't spend money anymore. Oh no. It's like the Padres just did that, and they did that in a division with the freaking Dodgers, who have like been in the regular season at least like probably the best team in baseball for the last 10-15 years, and they're like, screw it, we're going for it. And I think that's amazing. I think that's really, really great for baseball as well.
I just think that fundamentally people need to there's just so much unknown, there's so much that's uncertain, that when you're making fun of these teams that they're just going to finish third, you're implying that it's better to just sit there and do nothing and hope that you get the next Tatis out of your farm system. And I just think I think that's a mistake. I really do. And I think that there's a lot of teams in baseball that look, let me tell you something. I'm going to say it.
Tell me something.
That last World Series the Cardinals won is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Don't get me wrong. Great organization.
Did they win a World Series?
Yeah.
When was that?
Question mark? I think it was 06.
Yeah, it was 06. It definitely wasn't 2011, because that did not happen. That was when the Rangers won the World Series. Everyone knows this. Nelson Cruz was defensively substituted, and he caught, and Andy Chavez caught a ball on the warning track. That it could have been real problems for Nelson Cruz had Ron Washington not made the brilliant move to sub him out. Yeah, we're in my own headcanon now.
I feel like I'm Robin Williams and Good Will Hunting. It's okay.
No,
It's okay.
no,
It's not your
it's
fault.
fair. It's
You're
fair.
okay.
There's no Cardinals fans on the podcast. We don't have to talk about it.
I'm just throwing it out there. Cardinals, they won that World Series in 06, not 2011, in 06.
Yes.
They're really using that as an excuse to literally not spend on a single pitcher since I was in high school. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually kind of insane.
Dude, I can't believe, like, everyone
Adam
was...
Wainwright, we're ready to go.
Dude, I mean, 57-year-old Adam Wainwright, like 1 foot in the grave. I can't believe that more teams. I know, I get the Mets being like weird, like whatever. Like apparently they just didn't like Jacob deGrom, and like, I mean, sure. I mean, I get not liking your two-time Cy Young homegrown, superstar with the best stuff on the planet. Like whatever. If you want to go get an old man Justin Verlander to replace him, whatever. That's your prerogative. But like other teams, like especially the Cardinals, who like are in a crap division with a bunch of like bums who don't try hard, and like have got two of the best corner infielders, two of the like top 5 corner infielders in all of baseball for like pennies on the frickin' dollar in trades, and like have a bunch of like really great offensive players. Like you didn't want to go spend money on Jacob deGrom? Like you couldn't do 5 years, 185? There's no reason you couldn't. There's absolutely no reason you could have. Like couldn't have. And it boggles my mind, man. And like I really, not only for my own mental health and seeing like a really good baseball pitcher, the first one since Yu Darvish, be on the Texas Rangers and doing good things, but I hope that everyone feels really stupid if like DeGrom is actually like really healthy for like most of this contract. Everyone's going to look so incredibly stupid. The Mets especially, I don't wish bad things on them, but like everyone's going to look really stupid for like overthinking it. Like this guy's insane. When he's on the mound, he's insane. And like he had 2 hurt seasons in like a 10-year career. But anyway, all of this, I feel like we should get into some odds. FanDuel has some odds about the World Series, and our teams have different odds. I will give you that. I know that's shocking. Brace yourselves. Can you predict who the favorites are? Who is the betting odds? Have you looked at these yet?
I have looked at the top few. I remember because I was talking with someone yesterday, Lindsey Crosby, of Locked On MLB Prospects. We were talking.
I heard he's a prospect encyclopedia.
I heard he is. He did AJ Monahan. So shouts to Lindsey. Come on, man, you got to step your game
now
up.
Now he's like downgraded to a prospect dictionary.
Yeah, prospect dictionary. Yeah, that's right. I believe it is the Astros and then basically the Cowboys of baseball. The New York Yankees for second in odds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you are correct. And then we have
Vegas,
a tie.
Man.
We have a tie for third place in the Dodgers and the Mets, and then we also have a tie for 5th place with 2 teams who were in the postseason last year. They're both in the NL. Can you guess who those 2 teams are?
In the NL, I believe one of them will be the Atlanta Braves.
Mm-hmm. You are correct. At plus 1,000.
And then the other one will be the New York Mets.
Nope, we already had the Mets. Both plus 750.
Wow, I blanked. Sorry. The San Diego Padres.
They are. Yes, both of those teams are tied there. The Rangers are at plus 5,000. So they are tied with the San Francisco Giants, right in the middle of the pack, a little bit ahead of the Baltimore Orioles, which I find curious because I think Baltimore is a little bit better of a team. They clearly didn't have as good of an offseason. The Red Sox are at plus 8,000. Same with the Cubs. At the very bottom end, at plus 100,000 is the Oakland Athletics. They have twice as worse of odds as the next to worst odds, which I don't even think should be the next worst odds. The next worst odds are plus 50,000, which means if you put down $100 and they win the World Series, you win 50,000. That's the Washington Nationals, which is like, I mean, that's fine.
Look, let's not pick on the Nationals.
No, like, I think the Nationals are in like a half decent place because like the prospects they got in the Juan Soto deal are fantastic. Too. Like I would
some of them are going to start. You know, some of them will be ready soon. Not ready opening day.
Not the dunk on Ryland, but I think the Royals should be there at like the second worst spot. I honestly think the A's, like they did some kind of weird random things this offseason, and they're the A's. Like I wouldn't bet on them to win the World Series, but like if there were like, you know, plus 20,000, some kind of crazy numbers for like them to just like I don't know, make the playoffs, like I might put down like $20 on them because like it's the A's. Like even in years where like the A's are such a weird franchise, like even years where like oh no they got a bunch of crap. They traded off all their best players. Like they've got their farm system is not really that good. Like they still end up like being like really scrappy and competitive, and it's like they're such a weird franchise. But yeah, the Rangers at plus 5,000 ahead of the
Where's
Orioles and the
Seattle?
Red Sox. Seattle is plus 1,600.
And the Angels?
So the Angels are ahead of the Rangers plus 4,000. So it goes Astros alone, then Yankees, then Dodgers Mets, then Padres Braves, then Phillies, Blue Jays, Mariners, Rays, Rays, Guardians, White Sox, Cardinals all have the same odds. Then Twins, Angels, Brewers, Giants, Rangers, which I don't know. I feel like the Rangers being in the same boat as the Giants is like the Rangers are in a better place than the Giants, I think. I mean, the Giants have had like a decent offseason, but like it was just so devastating, like not getting the two biggest guys on the market. I think that's a really, really big thing to miss out on. And Grant, I do like their moves. They're like fringe moves. It kind of pissed me off that they signed the left fielder who hasn't played in like 2 years, who was formerly on the Mets, whose name I can't think of right now.
Michael Conforto.
Yeah, that's the one. I really wanted him. I thought the Rangers were gonna go get him.
I think the worst kept secret in baseball this offseason was Michael Conforto. I think every single team wanted him. They were like, this dude just missed a year for dumb reasons, basically. Like,
well, he had shoulder surgery, and it was a question of like, is he gonna play left field? And like the Boris like stringed them. Because Boris was trying to get him signed last year, and everyone's like, nah, this guy isn't playing. Like, like he's not playing. And there's some weird stuff going on with left fielders now. But I kind of wanted to circle back to our original topic of just like I listed out all the big contracts that both of our teams have dealt out in the last couple of years, and like for all the I don't know hullabaloo that's been made of it, like at least my team, like neither of these teams have like an insane amount of like massive stupid big contracts. So I'll read out all the ones that the Rangers signed. These are all deals that are 100 million plus that both of our teams have signed in the last 4 years. I don't know since whenever Manny Machado signed. That's the first one that I did in this list. Anyway, the Rangers have 3. They have Corey Seager, 10 years, 325 million. I feel like that's a fair deal. And he was fine last year. Marcus Semien, 7 years, 175 million. It's probably going to look bad at the back half. I mean, so is Seager's deal. And then you have Jacob deGrom, 5 years, 185 million. Best pitcher on the planet for the last 4 years when he's healthy. Hope he's healthy. Medical look good. And that's it. Those are the 3 big contracts. The Rangers are in a massive market, and they're still like they just now with the like 4 other pitchers that they signed, they literally redid their entire rotation in one offseason. Like now they're finally back in the top 10 of payroll, which like last year, even with those 2 massive signings and John Gray, who was a medium signing, they were still like I think in the bottom half of baseball in terms of payroll. And then we look at the Padres. They have in order of money, Fernando Tatis Jr., 14 years, 340 million. That's a good chunk of change for a very good baseball player. Manny Machado, 10 years, 300 million, which he could opt out after this year. He might, but I still don't think he's going anywhere besides the Padres, as despite what Mets fans are saying about them getting Ohtani and Machado, which just like, whew, boy, calm down, Mets fans. And they have Xander Bogaerts, 11 years, 280 million. That's a big chunk of change, but I think he's going to hold up and at least be a pretty darn good hitter, even by the end of that deal. And then you have Joe Musgrove, 5 years, 100 million. Like, this is not like, I don't know, like 2002 Yankees that just like spent on literally everybody. Like, I don't see any deals that are like Jacoby Ellsbury deals. Like, these are all pretty good deals that like, I think all these guys are going to hold up. Like, I mean, DeGrom's got some questions, obviously. Simeon's going to be like 38 by the end of the contract. Seager's going to be like 38 by the end of his contract as well. And Bogarts probably isn't playing shortstop in like 3 years, maybe 2 years. But like, all these guys are still really solid, good players. Like I don't really see, and then obviously the big old trade for Juan Soto. He's probably going to hit free agency, but you still got what 2 more full seasons of him.
Mm-hmm. I think that, in fairness to my earlier thing about, that we can't just pretend that we know what's going to happen. For all we know, Xander Bogaerts might not be any good after 4 years, et cetera, et cetera. We already saw, the Padres have a history of signing big time players that then become pretty useless pretty quickly. One of them who is now currently on the Chicago Cubs.
Can you say his name now? Now he's not on your team.
His name, Eric Hosmer. I can't. That was.
I don't know that my listeners know about your whole beef with Hosmer not saying his name.
Oh, my hottest take, honestly, is that like aside from Soto, the best move they've ever made was getting rid of him. I don't even care if I don't even care if they're still paying him. I just wanted him off my team so bad. But with both of our teams,
I've been there, man. I've been there.
Look, and don't get me wrong, they could go bad, and just the way. But I just think that. A lot of people probably would have thought that it was dumb last year because they said, oh, well, the Giants are going to be in front of the Padres. And it's just things change year to year. Brice, to be honest with you, I think the Rangers might finish better than the Mariners next year because I like their rotation a lot. And
it's
Mariners
deep
just
too.
kind of looked at this really big free agent class and they were like, yeah, we're good with JP Crawford. So that's cute. I hope that works out.
No, they got who'd they get? They got AJ Pollock. So
yeah, they got AJ Pollock. They traded for Teoscar Hernandez. The types of moves
they did make
baseball nerds happy because they aren't these giant, uncomfortable, scary contracts.
I don't,
it's like the Grim Reaper coming your way. But
don't tell anybody. But I think that's entirely possible. But I don't want to like talk trash on the Mariners because they're so high on their one playoff appearance and winning 2 whole postseason games.
This is really funny. I like it. Let's beef with the Mariners, man. I'm ready. Let's freaking do it.
I'm ready to have beef. I had a lot of really great will towards like Mariners fans for like they're lovable losers. And I had a friend who like worked in social for them this year, and then she doesn't work for them anymore. And then like Mariners fans are like, oh yeah, we're the great, we're the dynasty. Whatever. I was like, okay, wow, y'all really got ahead of yourselves.
Look,
real
don't get me wrong. I get it. If it taken me,
I already declared my official beef with Locked On Mariners. Love those guys, but I've declared official beef. I don't know if they listen to the podcast.
They're all right. They're all right.
They're good people, but it's fun to have some beef, like some sports beef with like absolutely no real life consequences. But before we get out of here, there is one guy who I want to talk about. I did mention AJ Pollock, a guy who I wanted for the Rangers to have, and for the last basically since the news of the last Rangers pitcher signing, I have been like, all right, the Rangers need to get a left fielder and a bullpen arm, and mainly a left fielder. And I have just been going back and forth through all of that. And there is one left fielder who is on the market, who has been on both of our teams, who is very near and dear to both of our hearts, and that is the first prospect I ever loved, the man who made me love prospects, who I slightly spite him for because it's broken my heart ever since. But I've never given up on him. That is one Jurickson Profar. Why is this man not signed yet to a massive deal? I'm so confused, man. I'm so confused.
Profare, man. Profare. That's how I always say his name. I don't know why I add that to it.
He's from Curacao, man. He's not from Italy.
I don't know why I do that. I still don't know why I do that. I know how to pronounce his name. It's just that it's like I don't know why I shout that whenever he does well. It's like how I say Springer for George Springer. It's like just one of those random things that I've added to a player. Anyway, look, with Profar, I don't know what's going on exactly because in theory, this is like a player that should be really interesting. He's like a 2 to 3 win player. I think that his defense might get a little bit overvalued just because I think a lot of it, and I'd have to check on this, might have been due to just an obscene amount of outfield assists that he had in like the first month.
Yeah, his outs above average were not good last year.
Yeah,
like according to Baseball Savant, but like,
and there was a point when he was good, but I think that's because early on in the season he threw out like 7 guys. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that because
I'm sorry, I'm just him throwing out guys like of a guy. I'm sure you know his story, and maybe I know Rangers fans do. Maybe the rest of Padres fans don't know. But this is a guy who's a former like number 1 overall prospect. Like, you see what Francisco Lindor is doing. That was supposed to be Jurickson Profar. Like, he was that.
Mm.
He was a switch hitter playing elite defense with great on base skills and decent power numbers. And he had this shoulder injury in 2014, the year from hell for the Rangers. And that whole like 2010 to 2016 run, that was the one year the Rangers, everybody was hurt and everything went to crap. And Profar was out for the season. And then that was the year that they traded Ian Kinsler for Prince Fielder because like, oh, Jurickson Profar is going to be here in second base alongside Elvis Andrus. And then like he had another shoulder injury. He just like was never the same. And like he basically had the yips with Oakland, and like that's why he moved to the outfield. Like he just like, could not throw from second base. The fact that he's like throwing it all, like his arm is still attached and he's still doing good baseball, like makes my heart really happy. But like, this is the offensive player you're supposed to be, maybe a little bit more power, but like I'm glad to see him like thriving at all and having a pretty good major league career. I think it's about time for him to freaking sign already, because what are these teams doing?
I don't know if it's some case of just asking for too much money, and in fairness, I do think that there would be some concerns with him. It's not like he smashes the ball all that hard. He did have a really big fall off in the second half, but for me,
he should ask for all the money in the world. Dang it!
There's just the good, yeah, exactly. Just the good vibes.
Give it to him.
The fact that I think he's one of those guys, and I might write about this for Just Baseball, actually, just why he hasn't been signed yet, and just maybe it's this interesting idea where this guy kind of has a two kind of halves of his career. One which is kind of a injury riddled, maybe bad situation, just didn't go well situation that starts off poor. Then he's like looks like he's going to be out of the league. He looks like he's going to be the next. I'm blanking on his name that threw a pitch for the first time last year. Who was the top, like the number one pick in like 2011. I forgot his name.
I thought you were talking about Matt Bush.
No, not Matt Bush.
Whose story is similar. Yeah.
But he did that this year. And then Profar comes to the A's and he has, an okay season. He hits for power. Then he kind of, falls off a little. Then he comes to the Padres, right? In that trade, they bring him over. And he kind of has some of his best moments and best time here. And after all of that, despite the last time, like the first time I heard Jurickson Profar, it was like the first Avengers movie hadn't even come out yet, right? Despite all that, he's turning 30. And I think that's his biggest selling point is teams have to look at it and say, is what he did with the Padres just the first of many? Is it just the first step of him transitioning into a new type of player? Or is it just that he's not very good and it's not worth paying for that? Because I think both sides of this coin make a lot of sense, but I'm really curious to see where he signs. And if he does come back to the Padres, I will enjoy seeing his smile and the good vibes.
Dude, sure. He has one of the best smiles in all of baseball. He always has. For those who weren't watching him when he came up as a 19-year-old, and he homered on his first plate appearance. It was a game where Ian Kinsler had gotten hurt, so the Rangers had him, and he was dominating in Double-A. He was 19 years old. They call him up on a road trip to Cleveland. First at bat of his major league career, hits a home run down the right field line. It's just beautiful, amazing moment. I just started following prospects, and I was just like, oh my God, they're all going to be like this. It's going to be so amazing. He's going to be the next big thing. It's going to be so great. And then just no, things went off the handle. I mean, his last year in Texas, he did really well. He was playing a lot of everywhere. He was basically super utility at that point in 2018, kind of a wish-washy club. He had his career high in OPS of 793, 20 home runs, 35 doubles, and on base in the 330s, slugs in the 450s. He had a really good year, and the Rangers traded him at not the peak of his value, because when he first came up, there were talks about him being traded for Giancarlo Stanton. That's the kind of prospect he was in 2012. Giancarlo Stanton, before he won the MVP and hit 56 home runs or whatever in a season. He was that kind of a guy, and so the Rangers have already done wrong by me in not filling that left field hole with Joseph Nicholas Gallo, and the least they could do is fill that hole with Jurickson Profar. Bring one of my other prospect sons home, and if not, it'll be fine. But I want something to happen. I want him to go somewhere good and somewhere he'll be loved and appreciated, and theoretically can win.
Now, right? it should happen any day now.
It
It's kind of
really
funny that
should.
he's still just hanging out, available.
I love that like Scott Boras has time for Jurickson Profar now. It's like, yep, he's like, hey guys, I know you signed all those other guys. All right, Scott,
He
let's
was
get
busy
my
dealing
deal
with
done.
Correa for like 4 weeks, right? Like, so maybe that's why it didn't happen. He had to like renegotiate 8 different times, so that's probably why.
And now Jurickson's like, yeah, I can get a hold of you, man. Everybody's gone. There was this this Japanese pitcher that signed with the Oakland A's for like $3 million who Boris was at his press conference. So
It's like,
I'm sure Jurickson's hitting up his line like every day. Like, all right, Scott, let's see what's going on,
it's
man.
like in Jerry Maguire when like Tom Cruise is trying to reach out to all of his elite level talents, and then he only has one guy left that he has to now go to.
This is Jurickson Profar.
Yeah, there you go.
Except he's actually great. I love him so much.
Show me the money.
I'm honestly so glad that he's just like been able to rebuild his career after the hot mess it was, and hopefully it's in Texas. Honestly, like just go somewhere nice. Go get a big, secure your bag, and go kick some butt because I'm very much looking forward to it. But yeah, I think
the Padres and the Rangers win the offseason.
Yes, because I was having that fight last year. I think the Rangers did one of the hardest thing. Like the Mets went from like, I don't know how much better the Mets got, like, which feels weird to say with all they did. If they added Correa, then obviously they got a lot better. But I don't think they got like that much better. But the Rangers went from like, I think team that like probably should have been about 500 last year, if not for some weird breaks and some mismanagement, whatever. But like they added Bochy, I think that's gonna be great. And they like literally like their whole thing was like, all right, we need to add like 3 pitchers, and they added 17, and they also added the best one on the freaking market. And so I don't know. And the Padres, they added a piece they didn't need, but makes them so much better. So like, yeah, that is, and I think they're the favorite. They're my favorites now in the NL West. Like I really think they could win it there, and that would be amazing. And I'd be very, very happy for you if they did that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Well, I think that's all I got. If that's all you got, man.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, it's been an off season. It's
been
really long. Excited for the World Baseball Classic and whatnot. Excited to see where Jurickson Profar goes. But
I wish that happened in January, because this time is so dead.
I know, right? I just want to remind everyone: stop making fun of the Rangers. We don't know. There might be some random Jake Cronenworth-esque type of guy that they've got in their farm, and say, who the heck is on your team? Like a Leotis Tavares or a Brad Miller. Those guys that don't have.
Well, don't say Brad Miller. No, Josh Young's gonna have a good season, I think, to be I'm saying
like
player.
Maybe those guys, a player like that gets hurt, or they trade them or whatever, and then up comes this guy who all of a sudden is going to be a really helpful asset, and then it's like, oh my god, now you're getting the bench and all that. Now all of a sudden you're quickly becoming a contender because you spent on all these superstar players like your DeGrom, like your Marcus Semien, like your Corey Seager. I kind of like Brock Burke. I think the bullpen might be a little bit better. You brought in my boy Brice Paterik,
a man after my own heart, Brock Burke.
And then you have what's his face, John Gray, if he can stay healthy, right? Martin Perez.
They have a lot of guys.
80% of what he was last year. I think the Rangers are gonna be fine.
Yeah, I think they will too. And I
we'll
wish that
whoop your butt, but maybe we won't. I'm gonna feel bad about it. I still got love for our boy Brice Paterik. I gotta show some love to the guy.
You gotta show some love to the former Padres great of all these Rangers that have.
I totally forgot they did that.
I know.
Totally forgot they brought him in. Damn.
If y'all had re-signed former Rangers great Jorge Alfaro after his amazing Dominican League performance, but
I know.
It'll be fine. You got former Rangers great Yu Darvish there, and maybe a reunion with former Rangers great Jurickson Profar, and a lot of fun for teams spending money and not afraid to see where it goes. Javi, where can the fine folks listening to Locked On Rangers find you and all of your great work?
You can check me out on Twitter at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Sometimes I tweet dumb things on there that aren't baseball, though. So if you want to check out at LO_Padres, check that out too. Locked On Padres on YouTube. Check out Just Baseball. That is where my snazzy, sick, super dope shirt is from. That's basically it. Everybody tune in. We're going to be talking about pitching soon.
Ooh, exciting. Locked On Padres listeners can find me on Twitter at Brice Paterik. You can find the show at Locked On Rangers. We got the regular one without any underscores, second New York Rangers. Or you can find my work. Just go subscribe to your local newspaper. If it's the Dallas Morning News, then great. If it's not, then great. Support local journalism and listen to Locked On Padres and Locked On Rangers for all of your baseball podcasting needs. And for your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby, as we said earlier, is a prospect encyclopedia, and he was going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.